Hey everyone, so in today's video we are going to be talking about Rare Beauty. Now a lot of you really wanted to see this video, even though I know a lot of you are already like inundated with Rare Beauty reviews. In this video I'm really going to give you guys an in-depth look at these formulas, really up close shots of my real skin, and give you an idea of how these textures work, what I think about the formulas and how they perform. I don't even really follow Selena Gomez, if I'm being like completely honest. I think sometimes we can get really caught up with a brand that has a lot of hype behind it. The reason I do reviews is to make them valuable for you. I really wanted to inform you guys on these formulas, the textures, how they wear, so that you guys can get a better idea of how they are going to work for you. I just picked up the products that I was interested in, so you guys know I picked up the cream blushes, the concealer, the foundation, as well as the lip souffle. I was really interested in this color that I'm wearing on my lips today. If you guys do enjoy it, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up, and I would love for you to subscribe if you enjoy the video. So let's just get on into this. Let's first talk about the Liquid Touch Weightless foundation. I picked up the shade 140C. There are 48 different shades within the range. They retail for $29 and you get a full fluid ounce. $29 for a fluid ounce of foundation I think is definitely competitive, especially when I typically see foundations running from anywhere from $40 to $50. I think $29 is a good place to be at. Love that the shade range is really inclusive, and 140C was actually a really good shade match for me. Rare Beauty says that this is kind of like a serum thin weightless texture foundation. It's weightless, but it's also buildable, and a little bit is going to go a long way. They mentioned that it's anywhere from a medium to a full coverage depending on how much you build it, and it's going to even out the skin's texture and sort of hide the pores as well. So right away when I hear weightless foundation, I am intrigued but a little bit scared, and let me tell you why. Because I have typically more dry skin. Right now my skin is about normal, leaning dry in some spots. I tend to lean more towards a creamy natural finish or a dewy finish, just because that tends to be what looks best on my skin. But I absolutely adore a skin-like finish. A foundation that looks like skin, but almost like you can't tell where the foundation starts and stops, but you have a really nice medium coverage. I love foundations like that. So I was really holding out for this one to be that for me. A lot of people really enjoy the packaging. I am definitely one of those people. I think that the doe foot applicator as well is really nice if you just want to, you know, swipe on some foundation and leave. I think we need to remember, you know, a lot of people are talking about if this is sanitary or not. If you wash your face every morning, I don't think it's anything that you need to worry about. If you're a makeup artist and you are using this in your kit, maybe that's something that you should be concerned about. But in general, for everyday use, I think it's good for an everyday person to be able to just swipe it on and blend it out. I do think that the packaging is a little bit messy because I think the stopper could have been a little bit tighter in here to keep the foundation from getting around the tube. This foundation, I absolutely do think that it's an incredibly thin texture, and it definitely feels super, super lightweight on the skin. It also just blends incredibly easily. It's very, very spreadable. Now, there are some really, really spreadable foundations that feel super silicone-y. I definitely think this has a touch of a silicone slip, but it's nothing that feels uncomfortable on my skin. I think if the product is too silicone-y, it can feel a little bit strange on the skin, but this one just blends super effortlessly. Honestly, to apply it is a joy. Like, it really wants to blend into the skin and spread. I think a lot of people that are into quick makeup that want some coverage and be out the door will like a foundation like this because it is so spreadable. You can really apply it super easily. I really wanted to give this foundation credit for that because that's something that I don't find in a lot of foundations, and I really like that about this one. But unfortunately, I don't think that this foundation is a home run for me. Personally, I found that it definitely exaggerated some of the texture in between my eyebrows, around my nose, and a little bit on my chin. Now, if I really prep my skin well, I can make it work. And I think a foundation like this would work really beautifully over an oil, kind of give the skin a little bit more oomph, you know, a little bit more moisture. And in some areas, I think that this looks very skin-like, and I really enjoy that about this. I think that some of you will really enjoy this if you don't have those textural issues or that slight dryness that I have on my skin, but you know, from my personal experience, I wished that it looked better in those areas. And I do have other foundations that look good in those areas and still look like skin. So for me, it is a home run. I love the shade range. I love how thin and weightless the formula is. I love the shade range. I love a lot of things about the foundation, but at the end of the day, how it looks on the skin and how it makes the quality of my skin look is king. Unfortunately, this one is a pass for my skin personally. Moving on to the Liquid Touch Brightening Concealer. I got the same shade. I got the shade 140C. Retails for $19. You get 0.25 ounces of product in here. And this has a lot of the same claims that the foundation does have. It says it's really lightweight on the skin, easy to blend, but it says that it has a little bit more of a radiant and brightening finish. They definitely market this as being really good for under the eyes. It's going to hydrate, brighten, and just make you look a little bit more awake. One thing that I really like about this is the actual packaging. The top of it is kind of shaped like a Mento, if you guys have had Mentos. It feels really good in the hand when you hold it, and did I just get concealer everywhere? Yes, I did. I think the doe foot is really nice. It makes it easy to get into this sort of corner in the inner eye that I find if you conceal that area really well, you might not need as much concealer as you think. I think a lot of people sort of neglect this inner eye area, and once you kind of brighten that area up, it really brightens up the whole face. I definitely found this to look a little bit more hydrating under my eyes. I didn't think that it looked really heavy upon application. It blended out extremely well, just like the foundation. I really love how blendable and seamless these products are when they work together as well. I really didn't mind the way that it looked on my skin upon application. As I continue to wear it, I think because the coverage is a little bit more of a light coverage, I just find that my eyes look a little bit tired. I think that this is definitely forgiving on more textural issues, especially if you have more dry under eyes like I do, but I was kind of craving more coverage under my eyes. I wanted a touch more creaminess. I really wanted to look a little bit more awake, and I felt like every time I wore this, I was looking for a little bit more coverage, for the area to look a little bit more brighter and just even more hydrated, I think, as well. I'm extremely picky with concealers, and you know, any base products, they need to really give me a very skin-like look. Under the eyes though, I have some darkness and I'd like it covered without it being super full, heavy looking coverage. And I think that this is just a little bit too thin, a little bit too light coverage for me. So yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of either of these. I appreciate them for what they are, but I don't think they're going to be my go-to skin products. But now getting into the Rare Beauty liquid blushes. They are the Soft Pinch liquid blushes. Now, if you are new to my channel, I have a lot of cream blush. You should go check out my cream blush collection video that I posted a couple weeks ago. It is a lot of cream blush. I've tried out a lot of formulas. So when I saw that Rare Beauty was launching, I was most excited to try these. I really am a big fan of a cream, a liquid blush. I just love the freshness that they can bring to the skin. These retail for 20 bucks and you get 0.25 ounces of product in here. I think that that's a really good price range for a liquid blush. They come in 8 shades and 2 finishes. They have a dewy and a matte finish. I bought one matte, which is the shade Love, and then I bought 2 of the dewy, which is Grateful and Joy. And I have to say that these shades are absolutely stunning. Super beautiful. Love is a matte finish and it's a really beautiful sort of terracotta pumpkin shade, and it has more of a matte finish, so I think it's going to be just like a really pretty fall shade for a lot of people. And then I have 2 of the dewy. I have Grateful, which is this absolutely stunning bright strawberry red. You guys know I'm not afraid of a red blush. I think if you use it and sort of pinpoint it in certain areas on the cheeks, it can give you like a really pretty sort of sunburnt flush. It's really youthful, and when you use a light hand, I think it can really just make the skin come alive. And I also bought the shade Joy. So the shade Joy is more of your classic peachy shade, and I was worried that I was going to be a little bit bored by the shade. and I'm totally not. I'm really glad that I picked it up actually, because it gives enough pigment and enough dew that I think it adds a freshness and a little bit more dimension that I get with some peachy nude shades. Some of them I'm just a little bit underwhelmed by. Again, Rare Beauty says that this is a really airy and lightweight liquid blush formula that is packed with pigment, so it's going to last on the skin, but they also call it mistake proof. So they say that it's really, really easy to work with. I personally love that they included both dewy and matte finishes. With cream blushes as a whole, they tend to be a little bit more on the dewy side. So I love that they included both a dewy and a matte finish. You can kind of choose which one is going to work better with your look, or just one that's going to work better with your skin type. I think that choice was really smart. But let's talk about these formulas because that's what's really important. I find that both the matte and the dewy finish are both incredibly lightweight, as they mentioned. They're also incredibly spreadable, just like the concealer and the foundation are, and they are incredibly, incredibly pigmented. You definitely don't need a lot of product when you apply them onto the skin. You can just go boop boop, a couple of dabs, and just be done with it. Because these are so pigmented, I don't think that this is a really mistake-proof liquid blush. And if you have never used liquid blush or cream blush before, I don't think that this is a good way to start, just because they are so pigmented that I think they could be a little bit more difficult to control. Now, once you get the hang of them though, I think they really blend beautifully and they're pretty to sort of mix and match. That's what I did on my cheeks today. I'm actually wearing all three of the shades on my cheeks right now. At first, when I was trying these, I was definitely experiencing the product sort of pick up the foundation under it. And I think that kind of is attributed to the fact that this is a very slippy foundation. So applying a slippy product over a slippy foundation, I think could work well or it could not. And I don't think that it worked well for me personally. I know other people have had a different experience, but I found that it was just a little bit too slippy. Now, I definitely saw the potential in this blush. So what I did instead was put on my Shiseido Synchro Skin Self-Refreshing Foundation. That's more of a creamy natural finish. It has a little bit more weight and it's not as slippy on the skin. Blended incredibly well once I had applied that foundation. They worked really well with that texture. Honestly, I was so happy to see it because I think these textures look really pretty when they are actually blended out onto the skin. Again, they like to blend. I personally prefer to go in with a damp sponge that has really been wrung out. I don't think these products need more moisture, and I think because they're so slippy, the moisture could sort of disrupt the texture of it. I love that these don't look really heavy on the skin. So if you are afraid of cream products that you can sort of see them sitting on the skin, I think these are going to work really well for you. My personal favorite at the moment is the matte. It is Love, which is kind of like a plot twist. I tend to be more of a dewy blush person, but recently, and I think with this formula in particular, it gives such a soft, like slight blur to the skin that I think is really pretty. It's not really a creamy stain, but it just sort of gives you a blotted blush look, if that makes sense. It's super pretty, very flattering on the skin, and if you do have textural issues, if you have more dry skin, I don't think that you would have any issues with the mattes if you did want to go the matte route. But the dewy ones are also really pretty too. I found that Joy was just such an easy everyday blush color because it is more of a peach with a little bit more pop. I think it's so pretty because you could sheer it out, but you could also give your skin a little bit more pop. And it's a soft dew. It's not a dew that you have to worry about looking too oily or strange on the skin. Worked very, very well with the Shiseido foundation. And I thought that Grateful was also so pretty, but it's very, very pigmented. So what I did with this one was just put a touch on the top of my nose, just a touch on the very tops of my cheeks. And it gave me that really pretty sort of sunburnt effect with just a touch of dew. I really think that the dewy blushes showed a little bit of restraint. It's so easy to come out with a really, really glossy dewy cream blush. From I'm being honest, I also love that really glossy and dewy look too, but I think that these are going to work for more people. It's going to give you that soft, dewy look that's going to be a little bit more appropriate for just like an everyday basis. So as a whole, I would say that I am most impressed with these cream blushes over all of the products that I tried. I think they're really pretty. They are super pigmented, so you have to get used to that pigmentation, you know, working with a lot of color all at once. But if you just take your time with it and focus on building it and blending it out, I think you will absolutely love how skin-like and pretty they are. I personally really liked how thin and skin-like they looked once they were applied. So very, very pretty blushes. And lastly, we have the Lip Soufflé Matte Lip Cream. I have the shade Brave. It's the one that I'm wearing on my lips today. I was sort of interested in the balms. I had heard in some of the reviews that they had a little bit of a weird taste to them and a little bit more of like a florally perfume or taste going on with them. So I kind of knew that I wouldn't enjoy that, so I just skipped it, to be honest. But I was interested in these lip souffles for this shade in particular. I mean, this shade is what sold me. There are 12 different shades. They retail for $20 and you get 0.13 ounces of product in here. So they call it an air whipped light cream that really hugs the lips, but supposedly it's not going to weigh down the lips. So this is, again, more of an airy, light texture. That is definitely a running theme with a lot of Rare Beauty products. These are textures that aren't super rich. They're not super creamy. They tend to lean more on the thin and lightweight side. This is certainly no different. Texture of this is very, very thin. It has sort of a silicone slip to it. It's like a silicone cream feeling. As you apply it and build it up, it's not a very slippy thin texture. I personally like that these still have a creaminess to them, so you don't feel like they're just gonna slip right off the lips. To me, these are definitely like a blotted lip look in a tube. So I personally really like to blot my lipsticks down just to give them a little bit more of a soft finish. And they also will wear a little bit better when you do it like that. Really, I like that these don't feel super drying on the lips either. Because it's sort of that silicone slip, it kind of forms a barrier around the lips to kind of protect them in a way. I can definitely see this being used as sort of like an everyday matte lip color that won't feel drying on the lips. Now, how they actually appear on the lips, I do have very, very dry lips, and I found that it definitely showed the dryness that I have on them. I do have like a couple of flaky spots, and those were pretty visible. I think you definitely have to exfoliate your lips if you're going to be using this. And also I found that especially when you're talking a lot, if you are drinking water, that the color will start to fade right down here in the areas where your lips are kind of touching quite a bit. It does look a little bit weird, patches a touch because of the formula, because it's that more whipped silicone-y texture. It is incredibly easy to reapply and it doesn't look weird as you reapply. Or if you were to sort of blend out those areas with a finger, it would look fine again. Personally, I do think that these are really pretty. If there's a color that you really like, that you're interested in, I think they're really nice. The formula doesn't blow me away, but this color absolutely does. I love that it's a toned down terracotta. It's really wearable for a more fall look. I just find it to be a really flattering lip color for, you know, my hair color, my skin color. Because I like more of that blotted lip color look, like I was saying before, I really appreciate the texture and the way it looks on my lips, even though it is a little bit less forgiving on textural issues. So yeah, guys, I have to say, out of all the products I tried, I think the liquid blushes are definitely where I would spend my money. I'm really happy with the purchase. I think they're really fresh and pretty. I like the Lip Soufflé if you are looking for more of a blotted lip look. Be sure to exfoliate your lips though when you wear it. And as for the base products, again, they just weren't my favorite. I know a lot of people have had a different experience than I have. Unless I were to use a really rich sort of facial oil, I don't think that these are going to be one that I'm going to reach for a lot. If you liked this video, if you asked for this video and you found it helpful, please make sure to give this video a thumbs up before you go, and that way I know. And of course, I would love for you to subscribe as well if you enjoyed it. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one.